Today on Mighty Car Mods, we're going to be answering one of the most common questions that we get asked from you guys.
I want to get a mad car and I want to modify it. How much should I spend?
So we've set up 10 budgets from $1,000 all the way to $100,000 so we can show you what cars you can get and what kind of mods you can do as well.
We're going from full nugget to full send. Let's do this.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. We have worked on a lot of different cars over the years, and some of them have been rubbish.
Well, most of the ones you've bought have been rubbish.
I was referring to your cars actually, Martin. The point is, when we finish the builds, usually you guys are saying, how much did it cost? Because you want to know if you can do it as well. So today, we're actually going to find out. We're going to run through some options and see what's available for you. And we're starting with $1,000. The question is, Martin, can you actually buy a project car for $1,000?
It's definitely possible. You've got to be in the right place at the right time. Let's run through it.
When it comes to budgets of $1,000 for a car, you're probably thinking that there is not much gold to be found when you're scraping the barrel, but you might be able to find a little bit of silver or maybe even a bit of bronze.
And if you're really lucky, maybe a nugget. Now, if you're going for that sort of budget, you want to be ready to grab the car. A lot of people who are prepared to sell cars that cheap need them gone quickly. So have your tow truck number on speed dial, have your mate with a trailer ready to go, or if the car's safe and good to drive, get an unregistered vehicle permit so you can drive it home.
Now, the cheapest car that we've ever had on the show was the TRD Laser. It was $92.50. All we had to pay was a tow truck charge that the owner was going to have to pay. We came and took the car from them. It still had 2 days rego, and recently we picked up a Honda Jazz for $1,000 with 8 weeks rego and manual. It did need some engine mounts, but still got the car for $1,000. So there are cars to be found, but now let's move on to my favorite category so we can also start talking about some mods. $5,000.
For $5,000, you are squarely in nugget territory and you will be able to find a car that can safely take you from A to B.
Plus, you'll be able to learn how to do some basic mods and learn how to use your tools and hopefully set up your garage. If you've been watching Mighty Car Mods for a while, you'd know that we love our small, tiny nuggets, especially the Daihatsu Sior, which was the car that started this whole channel almost 18 years ago. And we've had countless amounts of them since. These cars are simple and cheap, plus you can learn to do some great experimentation and projects on them if you're new to working on cars.
Some other cars for the same price and a similar nature would be an EK Civic, like that one, and a Mitsubishi Lancer, a VW Golf, a Toyota Yaris, a Nissan Pulsar, Peugeot 206, a Toyota Corolla, or a Toyota Celica.
All of these cars that Marty's mentioned should cost you somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000, and if you're lucky, you'll have a little bit of money left over for your mods. You might actually come across cars that are cheaper than expected, so you're going to need to do your research. More often than not though, some cars are cheaper than expected because they've got way more problems than you thought they'd have, and it's going to cost you a fortune to fix in the long run. And that's why you should never buy a car sight unseen from the internet, because that's my job. Now let's get onto the mods. And the first step is jack up your car.
The first mod that isn't actually a mod is maintenance. The first thing you have to do when you buy a second-hand car is do a full service to change all the necessary fluids and filters to ensure that your car is running as smoothly as intended. Now that's all done, it means the fun stuff can begin. So let's start with the exterior.
Wheels make a huge difference to the appearance of your car. So a set of second-hand wheels and some decent tyres is a great start to personalising your car. You can pick up a decent set of wheels online or off Marketplace for a couple of $100. You just have to make sure that they're actually going to fit on your car, so do some research online to check the fitment.
If you feel like your car is handling more like a boat, the cheapest way to change that is to get yourself some lowering springs. They can often be cheaper than coilovers and makes the car lower and feels a bit better around corners.
The other thing that a lot of people underestimate is just how much a clean car can positively affect your driving experience. We have bought cheap cars in the past that literally have a human turd on the back seat. So give your car a good clean. You can get a bucket, some basic stuff, and keep it nice and clean and free of turds. Grab yourself a bucket, a sponge, or a wash mitt and give your nugget a proper scrub down to really make this turd shine like no other. And if you want to really make it shine, you can grab some clay bar and polish to decontaminate your paintwork and make it even shinier. Once we get into the more expensive cars, we'll even be talking about PPF. You can also clean up cloudy headlights, and our usual advice is to use either avocado or urine with toothpaste, but if you want, you can also use a proper buffing compound that's made for this exact purpose.
Last but not least, upgrading your head unit. Especially if your car is relatively old, it really does help to modernise the interior of your car. Luckily for you lot, these days head units are almost always plug and play, or there's adapter kits available, meaning no fancy wiring.
It is easier than ever to get technology in your car, and do you know who you have to thank for that? Martin and me, because we not only invented the iPod. That's awesome. I will call it the iPod. We also invented touchscreens in cars.
Correct. Before anyone else.
Anyway, with that exciting news, let's move on to the next level of budget, which is $10,000. You owe me a 10,000 second car, Martin.
A what?
We've doubled our budget, people.
Did you get your quotes wrong?
We're at 10,000 bucks.
Do you know what you're talking about at all?
No. When you're doubling your budget, it means that now you're looking at some slightly more sporty nuggets. And they've probably got some decent aftermarket support for them too. You're likely to be looking at cars like the Suzuki Swift Sport, a Mark V Golf GTI, a Renault Clio Sport, a Volkswagen Up, a Lexus IS200, my mum had one of them, a Honda Integra, a Subaru Impreza RS, a Toyota Corolla Sportivo, and a Honda Accord Euro.
And for that money, you might even be able to get yourself a Commodore.
I think what he means to say is a Falcon, the superior of the family carrying nuggets.
Commodore.
Falcon.
Commodore.
XR6. The objective here is to have a balanced, purposeful daily that does have some decent aftermarket performance potential, and you might even be able to do a couple of track days.
And in terms of mods, we can now start to increase the budget a little bit to get a little bit more bang for buck than what we did in the last category. You can improve grip by getting a nicer set of tyres, get yourself some entry-level coilovers as opposed to just lowering springs. A set of new or refurbished coilovers will have fresh components that allows the car to handle even better around corners and minimise body roll. An intake and catback exhaust allows your car to breathe and push gases better for more performance. And of course, you might get some extra grunt. Last but not least, get yourself some good brakes. It's cool to go, but it's also important to stop too. And once that's all done, you can move on to some visual mods such as a lip kit, vinyl accents, a wrap, black out your badges, chuck some Mighty Car Mod stickers on it, and some other interior touches which cleans up the car a little bit more.
So that gives you a couple of ideas of what we've done with a $10,000 budget, but now we're adding another $5,000 to it because Marty owes me a 15-second car.
You realise
like this Civic here.
You realise
not
that's,
like that,
that's
which
5
is way
seconds.
faster.
That's five.
Because that's turbocharged, and that's not.
It's
Honda. It's
seconds.
front-wheel drive. Mine's rear-wheel drive. Absolute rubbish. Absolute icon. Let's move on to
5 seconds slower than a 10-second car. Literally slower. People don't want to go slower for 15 grand. They want to go faster. Show them the thing.
Now with $15,000, my friends, you have just arrived at a very exciting postcode. Now you can stick with the cars that we've already mentioned that go a little bit harder with the mods, or you can try a completely new platform. You might even find something European. Yes, we're now looking at some models like the BMW E46 and Mini Coopers. We're also looking at the GC8 WRX, Ford XR6 Falcon, and some Mazda MX-5s. Now the modifications that you're going to do at this level are probably going to build on the mods that you did in the previous categories.
That's right, and now aftermarket bushes can be a game changer when you've got a car at this level where some of that stuff might be starting to get a little bit worn out. You can upgrade all that and make a huge difference to your car. Old bushings can affect the handling of your car and they're cheap and easy to upgrade. So it makes sense to put the old ones in the bin, and installing a set of new OEM or polyurethane bushings will drastically improve the drivability of your car and restores the original feeling. We've been using white line bushes since the early days of Mighty Car Mods, and it's always worth the upgrade.
To build upon that, a set of sway bars will minimise body roll around corners and allows your car to hug the road even better to activate your grip. For some potential power gains, an ECU flash or tune might be a good option to squeeze out some extra oomph.
An alternate route, and one of my favourites, is to get a cheap base model and then shove a massive turbo on it and a programmable ECU like a Haltech to add the boost that its non-existent VTEC never gave it.
At this point of your build, you might find that your project starts to orient itself towards a particular kind of style. It could be a street car, it might be a track car, or it might be a drift car, but the fate of your car is in your hands.
All right, guys, time for some serious bucks. $20,000.
You owe me a 20-second car, Martin.
That's even slow. It's twice
Yeah, it
as
is.
slow.
It's the 23 honk.
It's not better.
I didn't say
Because
it's better,
you're
but
saying
that
it's
would...
slower. No, you're saying you only
No,
a 20
that is a
second car, like
20-second
better
car.
thing. 10 seconds is faster than
I
20.
just keep telling you this would do 12s or 13s, and that would do 20, and
that
that
will
would
do
do 15.
16s.
What are you talking
That's
about?
so slow.
Okay, run the graphics. It's full of shit. If you've got $20,000 doodles hanging out your doodle hole, then you have got some great options for cars.
And life.
You can buy.
He's right. If you got $20,000 hanging out your diddly-doodly hole, I mean, really, what else do you need in life?
How did you
Why
fit
do you
it in
even
there?
need... You don't need a car. Like, you don't. You can just walk around being like, 20,000 diddly-doodly dolls hanging out my doodle dong, and then away you go.
And why
Seriously,
are you even
life's
watching
good.
YouTube? Because
Well, I
they
don't
could
know.
start their own business on only doodles.
Anyway, what do we get for 20,000 bucks?
At this price point, you're starting to look at cars like the Mazda MX Dong, the Subaru BR Dangle, the Subaru WR Peen, the Toyota Crown Majesta Dong, that sounds like a kind of dinosaur, Subaru Libido Turbo, the Ford Phalluscon XR6, or the Turgid XR Erect, the Daihatsu Copenis, a Suzuki Shaftica, or the Mark 6 Volkswagen Girth GTI. At this price point, you can pretty much build any style of car that you want.
Do you want a two-door rear-wheel drive manual car like our NC MX-5? Sure. This one has wheels and tyres, sway bars, lowering springs, and a head unit upgrade. This seems like the mods we did for a $5,000 budget, and it's very similar because we wanted to keep the car simple. The car is great as is and just needed some easy modifications to bring out its full potential.
Now here's a few mods that you could consider when you've got a $20,000 budget for your car and parts. A set of quality coilovers, some bolt-on power mods like headers, intake, downpipe or turbo inlet pipe, an LSD upgrade, lightweight wheels and some proper track tyres like some Cup 2s, a driver seat upgrade, and some slotted brake discs with track pads.
You could also consider doing a VIP style build like we did with the Toyota Majesta that we imported cheaply from Japan. With some basic plug-in mods, some wheels and some extra low, we ended up with a car that looked absolutely excellent.
You can be the numero uno VI penis. It's big, like a dinosaur, the car, not the penis. That's why we call it the Toyota Majesta Dong. Alternatively, for this kind of money, you can look at something like a Ford BA Falcon XR8. These cost a little less than the XR6 turbos, and you can use the rest of the money for modifications. With this one, we're able to rip some hectic skids on the track and have a whole lot of fun on the skid pan. We've installed cams and a custom exhaust for some power gains, a hydro handbrake to lock the rear wheels and to initiate drifts, and aftermarket front knuckles to catch big angle during our slides. For this kind of budget and for this level of fun, this is totally worth every cent. And being able to ride with our mate Rob Arbolino, who's a professional drifter, you learn so much about car control, it is absolutely priceless. So now people, we're adding some more money to the kitty. We're going to $25,000. What car have you got, Martin, that would do a 25-second quarter mile?
Probably my K-Truck. We've arrived at $25,000, people. That means you can get yourself some proper mad performance cars and get yourself some excellent mods too.
This means the door even opens to some mad little European hatchbacks. And then you can get a crackle pop tune. You dickhead. At this price point, now we're talking about cars like a Mark 7 Golf GTI, a Mark 6 Golf R, an Audi S3, the BMW 135i, or the BMW 335i. Now, if you wanted a Euro that was just a little bit different, you'd also be looking at things like a Renault Megane RS, a Peugeot 308 GTI, or maybe some weird beard Fiat Abarth thing, or even a Volvo. And then, of course, there's the awesome Japanese options such as the VA Impreza WRXs, the facelift GT86 and BRZs, or even a Nissan 350Z. For the badge cars, you'd likely be going for a Stage 1 or Stage 2 power upgrade, including downpipe, intercooler, turbo inlet pipe, and an aftermarket tune. That'll completely change the performance of the car.
As for the others, you can focus on a similar recipe to before, but you might be able to drop a little bit more cash on those mods for some higher quality parts, focusing on grip, handling, and a bit of straight line performance. It's worth noting that getting your suspension set up properly can drastically improve the car on the streets and the track, so throw some money at a good wheel alignment. For turbo cars, boost controllers and blow-off valves allow you to unlock the potential of your car and gives you all the reason to go but also consider getting an aftermarket ECU and getting it tuned to extract maximum performance.
Now, at this stage of your modification journey, your car is most likely probably going to be one of the quickest cars on the street, plus will help you stand out in what is now becoming a sea of white Teslas and boring Camrys. Unless you stick a turbo on it, but that's another video. Just because your car doesn't have a turbo now, doesn't mean that it can't have one at all. When the Subaru BRZ and Toyota 86s first came out, it finally brought the affordable sports car back onto the market after the decline of them since the early 2000s. We're talking rear-wheel drive, small engine, and manual. However, soon after they were released, people quickly wanted more power, which meant that it was turbo time. We turboed this one with a Garrett GT2860R running an SME turbo conversion kit. It's also got all of the usual handling mods like coilovers, sway bars, and grippy Michelin Pilot Sport tyres. And it's sitting on the wheels that Super Gramps used to run, which saved me a bit of money. I actually sold this car to a mate and missed it so much that a couple of years later, I bought it back. So that's $25,000. Now, let's move on to 30,000 big ones. Now let's just acknowledge for a second that all of the projects up until this point have been $25,000, which includes a pretty cool car and the modifications. Now we're at $30,000, and the question is, Martin, what can you get today new from a dealership?
I think the reality is you're actually just paying a lot of margin. If you're buying a new car, you're giving a whole lot of profit margin in someone's pocket and not actually maximising the value. But you can get some decent hatchbacks. There might be Chinese cars, Korean cars, maybe some JDM cars as well, which will be fine for getting from A to B, but potentially not as exciting as what you can get on the second-hand market when you are going for a performance car.
Now with $30,000, we've got the same kind of cars that we've discussed already, but possibly with lower mileage and better condition, but it also opens up your automotive cookbook to even more recipes.
Some newer options could be things like the Mini Cooper S, the Nissan Fairlady 370Z, the Mazda ND MX-5, or the Volkswagen Mark 7 Golf R.
Around this kind of money, you might also be able to get something like the Hyundai i20N, but now let's have a look at what's coming from the land of the rising sun, Japan. If you want something a little bit different, we've got things like K-trucks such as Marty's Hijet Tipper, which is great on the track and also great off-road. And you've also got non-GTR R32, 33 and 34 Skylines. It seems the more doors they have, the cheaper they are.
And as for mods, it starts to get pretty interesting. You can go deep into the wormhole of car modification with things like engine swaps or full internal rebuilds for extra power, a good quality turbo setup, a fully integrated Haltech setup or rewire, custom exhaust, track spec suspension and tuning, body kit or a wide body, or a full or half cage, a dash rewire, or something awesome like a Haltech dash. You can also break the mold. You can spend a bit more money but get something extraordinarily unique, something like that Nissan March Super Turbo. You pay a bit more, but you get something that no one else has.
Now, we bought that thing off the internet in Japan. We road tripped it. We even kept up with a GTR at some point. It makes incredible noises. And if you want to spend your money on something that's a little bit more unique, or you're really into that cars and coffee culture, something wacky like that could fit the bill.
All right, let's move on to $50,000.
$50,000 is around the annual average wage here in Australia, and you can get some pretty freaking sweet cars for that.
We're talking cars like Honda S2000s, nice clean Nissan Silvias, a Ford Focus RS, a second generation Subaru BRZ, or a Toyota GR Yaris.
Now, a couple of curveballs or something a little bit different could be a Porsche Boxster,
or a Honda S660,
or you could even grab yourself a brand new Suzuki Swift Sport. Now, at this price point, it's worth keeping in mind that with second-hand cars, particularly cool cars, a lot of the money you're paying is just cool car tax. Now, if you look at my 180SX behind us here, back in the day, you could pick these up for around $10,000. Now, a nice clean one like this is $50,000. So a lot of that price is just car tax.
And it's worth remembering that you are still driving around in a car that's a $10,000 car with the others that are equivalent, except this one is way cooler and no one else has it, or very few other people out there are driving them, which is where all the extra value comes from.
And so what you've got to try and work out is it worth the extra $40,000 to have a car that's unique? Or would you rather pump that money into something else where you get maybe more value, something more modern, but definitely not as cool as that?
If the focus now is to prepare for power and proper weekend track use, you may want to look into the following mods. a turbo upgrade or converting to ethanol for extra power, forged internals, pistons, rods if you're adding Mozza boost, track-ready coilovers and sway bars, a big brake kit, roll bars, race seats and harnesses. If you get a GR Yaris today, they're hovering around the low $30,000 range, and you can spend about $15,000 more to make it the ultimate Sunday track weapon. Out of the box, something like a Yaris is an amazing car. It's good for daily duties and an absolute weapon on the track.
The biggest problem is you have to look at it. It looks like shit.
It is a Toyota.
Yeah. All right, people, we're moving on to the big one. 75. 10, 7, wait on 7. You know in Japan they do the thing where they hold the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they hold the hand like that?
I do.
75. 75.
Okay.
At $75,000, we are going bananas now, people, and you'll be unwrapping your banana when I also tell you that for the same money, you could buy 32.6 Toyota Camrys or 3,271 goats. What do you think about that, Martin?
I think you could also go out and buy a pretty reliable and also very capable car that could be a daily and a track weapon, or maybe you're in toy car category now where you just want something that's an absolute weapon on the track, at the drags and at the circuit.
With $75,000, you could build a supercar chopping Mark 8 Golf R. You could follow the same recipe as our Mark 7 Golf R build that we did a couple of years ago. It had a Revo ETR turbo, a turbo muffler delete, front mount intercooler, upgraded piping, a big brake kit, upgraded fuel pump, a GFB diverter valve, Eibach springs, wheels and tyres, a Miltec turbo back exhaust and a Revo tune. Now this Golf R ran low 11 seconds over and over again at the drag strip. It was only a couple of days work and the list of mods is actually not that big for the performance that you get. Plus, we could keep it in full street trim. If you wanted a Mark 7 instead of a Mark 8, you could probably do that for around half the price.
At this budget, you pretty much have all the options you want if you've got a normal car, but this is also where some of the JDM heroes start to unlock. We're talking things like Supras, the R32, R33 and R34 Skylines, and of course, RX-7s. We bought an FD Mazda RX-7 and then road tripped it around Japan. We then brought it home through Import Monster, simplified it and modernised it using race-only bits until it was spitting flames on the dyno. We got rid of the sequential twin turbos and added one big single.
There are heaps of cars available for $75,000. You've got your JDM icons and you've also got smaller hatchbacks such as the Audi RS3. 5-cylinder engine, they sound absolutely amazing. You can get older versions of them for about $50,000 or $60,000. You can get the facelifted versions for around $75,000. And with nothing more than a turbo inlet pipe and a stage 1 tune, they are freaking fast. But not as fast as these cars that are $100,000.
Hey.
$100,000, Martin. We're talking some serious biscuits
Serious
now, mate.
cash. And you might have bought a car in one of the earlier stages that has slowly appreciated in value up into the $100,000 category, even though you didn't have to pay that.
Now, here's the thing though, with new cars, tariffs, costs, the changing nature of the world and automotive. So you used to be able to get an RS3 for $75,000, $80,000. The current version of these can be somewhere between $120,000 and $150,000. Now, a lot of that money as well is going towards luxury car sales tax. So you've got to look at how much of the money you put in the car is actually going to the car and how much is going to tax, luxury tax, cool tax, cars and coffees tax. But at this price point, you can fully customize and build your dream car.
You'll also find this is where you start to get into cars that can do a lot of different things well. So if you want a car that can be a daily, can carry a lot of stuff, can be fast and competitive on the track and still look cool, go to a Cars and Coffee, do all those kind of things, this is the kind of money where those cars start to open up.
So we're also talking things like Euro wagons, BMW wagons, Mercedes, some RS4s. I mean, it's a pretty exciting space, and you could potentially build a Subaru Levorg Hyperwagon that never came out of the factory, but did come out of this room. You can also pick up more specialist cars, something like my track-ready Lotus Exige. This one here had a bunch of different mods, including a supercharger upgrade, and meant we could absolutely fly around Mount Panorama on track day.
We travelled the outback of South Australia in a Nissan R35 GTR when they first came out. Good ones are over $100,000, but you can even get some for less.
Now, if you're into the more classic stuff, then you might be into something like Marty's fully resto-modded Holden Gemini or my RB26 powered Datsun 240Z. But engine swaps don't always have to cost a whole lot of money. If you hate the purists, you can check out a VTEC powered Classic Mini. Something like that could be done for around 50 grand.
If you've made it to this budget price bracket, the truth is you can pretty much do whatever you want. If you want to throw $100,000 at an all-drive K-Swap Civic, you will probably beat cars that cost even twice as much, that have a more well-known and pricier badge on them. But you can also roll in and get yourself that mad Porsche, that mad Lotus, that mad sports car that you've always wanted. So if you're in this bracket, good on you, and I hope you have a lot of fun.
Martin, are you actually doing an all-wheel drive K-Swap Civic?
I would love to do that. It's on my wish list, 100%.
That actually sounds pretty good.
One day.
Every day. So we've gone from $1,000 to $100,000, and obviously there are so many different options in between and heaps of cars that we haven't even mentioned. We've tried to keep focused on the projects that we've done and cars that we've worked on over the years, but obviously there's things like the E30, there's the Outfap, there's the HQ Holden. There are hundreds of cars that we've worked on the show. We're trying to just give a little taste of what we put into some of these builds over the years.
And whether you've got $1,000 or $100,000, are you going to have a 100 times better experience? Not really. Part of the fun is modifying it, learning as you go, and enjoying the experience, and also making your way up through those different builds. If you've got an idea of what you think is the best range to be in, or the best recipe, or the best car for that money, tell us what you think.
All right, thank you very much for watching this episode of Mighty Car Mod. Something a little bit different, hopefully gave you a bit of an insight. Down below in the description, we've got links to lots of these different build series that we discussed. Plus, if you want to support the show, there's merch there as well. See you next time.